Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my channel if you've never been here before. This is not the normal setting for my videos, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. Today I want to talk about expectations and how having certain expectations can really hinder your practice and your craft and even some different aspects of your life. And I know, patrons, this is not the video that I said I would be creating for this week, but it is the video that I was inspired to make. And I was inspired to make it because of my current life situation. So let's talk about expectations. I wanted to use my current situation as a sounding board, I suppose, for this particular topic. I'm currently sitting in my car. This is not the normal setting for when I would be recording videos, but here we are. And the reason I'm in my car is because it's been a very busy 2 weeks. It's barely, I don't know, what is today that I'm recording? So I record my videos well in advance. Today is Monday, June 7th, as I'm recording this. You're going to see it on whatever day Saturday is. But it's been a very busy couple of weeks, and June in general is going to be massively busy. I've got a couple interviews set up. I'm also having surgery at the end of the month. So the idea to talk about expectations within witchcraft and paganism really was inspired by my own expectations for how this channel should go, what I should be able to do, and really the standards and the expectations I set for myself. So first of all, context to the situation. I wanted to talk about this because I realized that my expectations for myself were too damn high. I spent a good week sitting down trying to plan out content for the entirety of June, making sure that I had time to batch record all of my videos, get the podcast out at the end of the month, make sure that I still gave my patrons what they deserve because they're my patrons and they pay me. So that's, the monthly spell, the monthly guided meditation, the hangout, the book club, all of that. And then still continue doing my normal things that I do, my freelance work, so that I can pay my bills, and being a mom and being a partner and taking care of the house. I was setting standards and expectations on myself that were too high and weren't very realistic. And honestly, they probably still aren't very realistic with surgery at the end of the month and trying to prepare for everything like that too. And it bleeds into other areas of my life. So I know some of you probably care that I'm having surgery and that, I'm dealing with expectations and standards for myself. Some of you probably don't, and you're just here for the witchcraft and pagan information. That's fine. So I want to talk about how the different expectations, how do I want to word that? I want to talk about the expectations that you should or do have for other people, and then the expectations that you carry for yourself and how these can really impact your craft and your daily life. I also should mention that this is probably going to be a talking head video since I'm sitting in my car and we're just hanging out. So yeah, plug in your headphones or, play it while you're cleaning your house or something. And this also plays into those expectations that I hold for myself because I know you have certain expectations when you come to my channel. You may not realize you do, and that's okay. We all have expectations. But I'm sitting in my car in my regular clothes, got a tank top on, I'm wearing shorts, I've got my bandana on, and I'm not wearing any makeup because I didn't feel like it. And normally when someone comes to my channel, I am in either one of two places that I usually record in my house, and I've got makeup on, I look quote unquote presentable or professional, and I'm throwing those expectations away right now because I am a regular person. Those YouTubers that you watch are regular people just like you who, they have lives and stuff. So I don't really know where I was going with that, just to, I guess, kind of make you aware of expectations, because when you clicked on this video, you probably didn't expect for me to be sitting in my car with no makeup on and just rambling like I am right now. So let's talk for a minute about the expectations that we carry for other people. And it's going to depend. So I'm going to try to stick to the context of creators online because I have experience with that, being a creator myself, and any other person sort of in a fabricated position of power, or a supposed position of power. I think that's a better word. I kind of touched on this already just a second ago about the expectations that we have when we come to someone's channel or we consume someone's content. When you come to my channel, you would expect me to talk about witchcraft, paganism, maybe some parenting mixed in with there, because that's what my channel is about. You would probably also expect for me to look a certain way based on whatever video you have watched before or whatever of my social media platforms that you follow me on. Normally I wear makeup. Normally I do my hair. Normally I wear not a tank top. And those are the kinds of expectations that we hold based on our experiences. And I'd like to challenge you to throw those expectations out the window, because we are regular people. Everybody that you see on TV or social media or YouTube, or even that you interact with on a regular basis, are regular people. And when you follow creators or when you consume someone's content like mine on a specific subject, you would probably assume that the person knows what they're talking about. This is true most of the time, but we have that expectation that if I'm sitting here talking to you about witchcraft, that I actually practice witchcraft and I know what I'm talking about, which I do most of the time. But those expectations can get us in trouble. Having certain expectations of other people can lead you to, there's a word I'm looking for. I follow Olivia on Instagram, the Witch of Wonderlust, and she has very niche content. She posts about witchcraft, but she also posts about pole and a lot of other things that she's passionate about. Well, she posted a video that was completely outside of her audience's expectations, and she received a lot of flack for that. And it just reminds me that, being online like this, if we create content about a specific topic, that's sometimes all that our audience sees is that topic. And if we post something outside of that, we either disrupt their expectations of us, or we upset the audience, or we give a new perspective. It's all going to depend. So you hold these expectations of everyone that you interact with, and I'd like to challenge you to be aware of those expectations and figure out if they are warranted or not. I would expect, watching videos of other people talking about witchcraft, that the people talking know what they're talking about. I would expect going to school and knowing or expecting that the professor or the teacher knows what they're talking about and has a degree and the education to back up the fact that they are teaching. And then with those expectations, we can get, what am I trying to say? When we have expectations of people, for example, someone is driving a car, or someone is in a car behind the wheel and they are driving the car. We would expect that that person knows how to drive the car they are driving. When we hold expectations of other people in more broad situations, Sometimes we can expect them to know everything about that broad subject. Going back to the driving example, I'm sitting in my car. You would probably expect that I'm behind the wheel of the car. I mean, I'm not driving anywhere right now. But that I know how to drive this specific vehicle. If we fall into the trap of thinking that, oh, that person can drive this car, so they can drive all cars, that's a big mistake, because yes, I can drive this car. This is an automatic 5-speed transmission, 6-speed transmission, whatever. It's an automatic car. Okay. I can also drive a manual transmission. My boyfriend used to have a manual transmission car. I can drive that. That's fine. I cannot drive a semi. I have never driven a pickup truck pulling a trailer, you know? So when you're consuming content online about witchcraft and paganism, please try not to fall into the trap that just because someone is talking about witchcraft in general, that they know absolutely everything there is to know about the broad topic, because witchcraft is such a broad term and it encompasses so many different things. So those expectations that you have, I would hope that you would not expect me to have knowledge about I don't know, Irish folk magic. I'm an American. I don't have any knowledge of Irish folk magic myself other than what I have researched. And if you're coming to me expecting to learn about Irish folk magic, I'm going to point you in the direction of Native Irish people who practice Irish folk magic. And we have to be careful with those expectations that we place on other people. I hope all of that makes sense, because I just have like notes in my brain. I wrote a couple of things down over here in my notebook, but I'm just going. And I can tell like my face is getting more red because I'm sitting in my car and I don't have my car on and the air conditioner is not on, because I'm not going to sit here for an hour with my car running. So it's progressively getting warmer. Oh well. So the next section, or next topic, I guess, within this topic that I want to talk about is the expectations that we place on ourselves. Yes, the expectations that we place on ourselves. These can kill your practice. And a lot of it honestly has to do with social media, because we're on social media, we follow our favorite YouTubers and we consume their content and their art and their books and their photographs. And that can give us unrealistic expectations. And this is difficult to navigate when you're first starting your practice in witchcraft, or when you're first beginning a polytheistic or pagan practice, because there's a lot of information out there, and oftentimes we can feel like we have to know absolutely everything that there is to know about everything. And that's entirely false. You can't expect yourself to know everything. You can't expect yourself to be good at everything. And we fall in that trap of, researching and reading one book, and we've read the book, and then we get 10 more book recommendations, and we find, one more subject that, oh, this is kind of interesting, let me go research that too. And we end up with this massive laundry list of information that we feel like we need to go learn everything about. And that can turn you into an armchair witch, and not necessarily on purpose. You want to learn all of the things, but if you learn all of the things but you don't do all of the things, then you know stuff in theory but you don't know stuff in practice. And Matt Aron actually just posted about this on Twitter, because you can know how something works in theory, but does that mean that you can actually do it? And so having these expectations of yourself where you have to know everything, and you're constantly reading and consuming more knowledge and more theories and memorizing color correspondences and herb meanings and spells and phases of the moon, but you're not actually doing anything. You're not building a practice. You're just building a knowledge base in your brain. You also may fall into the trap of thinking that you have to do things perfectly, that you can't make mistakes and you can't mess up, which is an expectation that I place on myself a lot, honestly, and it's something that I do unconsciously. I'm constantly feeling like if I mess up, I did something wrong. But messing up and making mistakes is part of the learning process. It's how you grow, and you can't necessarily get better if you don't try, and you can't be afraid to make mistakes. I feel like more creators, I hate the phrase creators and content creators. I feel like more people online, more YouTubers, more people on Instagram, more people writing books would admit their mistakes. Not necessarily to say like, oh my gosh, I messed up, please have pity for me. But more of like, hey, look, I've been doing this thing for 10, 20, 50 years. I messed up. And oh my gosh, it's okay. The world didn't crumble around me and I learned from it. Here is what I learned, and here's what I'm going to do next time. You can't expect yourself to be perfect. No one is perfect. That's not how the world works. And bouncing off of those two things, you can't do everything. You can't. And this is where my battle with expectations is coming into full play right now, because I'm trying to do everything, and not necessarily everything in my practice. I feel like I have a pretty solid practice, but I'm trying to do everything in my life. I am trying to be the mom and homeschool and be a good partner and take care of a house and earn money to help pay the bills because shit's expensive, and go to all of the appointments and cook all the dinners and do all of this here on YouTube, make the videos, edit the videos, write the notes, come up with ideas, interact on social media. And I'm trying to do all of these things, and it's just compounded itself this month because I normally give myself time. I normally do one video a week. I record, edit, do all of that once a week. But here I am trying to get everything scheduled out so that those with the expectation that I will have new content out every week are not disappointed. And so I don't disappoint myself, because I've put that expectation on myself too, that yes, I'm going to have a video out once a week. I'm going to have a podcast out once a month. I'm going to post on social media 1, 2, 3 times a week, whatever it is, because it keeps changing. And I have to realize that I can't do everything, and that it's okay to pick and choose and prioritize my day and my week and even my month. And that's how I feel like it should be in your practice too. You can't do everything. If you want to cast your spells by the phase of the moon, great. If you want to cast your spells by the phase of the moon and the planetary alignments, great. But I feel like, at least in my experience, if I'm trying to cast a spell by the phase of the moon, by planetary correspondences, by days of the week, hours in the day, season, then you've got colors and herbs and scents and all of these different correspondences, that's doing a lot. I would never cast a spell because I would constantly be trying to figure out when I could do specific spells. It just doesn't work for me. And then the same thing is true with my polytheistic practice and my worship of Bridget and my devotion to her. I can't do it all. There have been times where I have thought about bringing a new deity into my life, but at this point in time, I don't have time for that. And as long as I'm giving the honor and the devotion to Bridget, then that's what's important in my life right now. Or in my polytheistic practice. It's important in my life too. There are 2 other things that I think will kill your practice when it comes to expectations. The first one has to do with expectations of magic. Magic and witchcraft has its limitations. You know, just because we're practicing a supernatural practice and we are using witchcraft doesn't mean that our magic and our lives are no longer bound by the laws of physics and, the laws of time and age and everything else of our physical world. You can't do a spell to magically transform yourself into a mermaid or a unicorn or who knows what else. You just can't. That's not how it works. And I know that some people come into witchcraft with these super unrealistic expectations of how magic works. They think they can just snap their fingers like Charmed or Harry Potter and get exactly what they want. But that's not how witchcraft works. And I feel like if someone is coming into witchcraft with these super high, super unrealistic expectations, they are more likely to leave witchcraft and just say, oh, whatever, that doesn't work. But it's not that it doesn't work, it's that your expectations and your standards are too high. You cannot physically change your shape with magic. It doesn't work. You can't snap your fingers and automatically get rich and get $1 million. It doesn't work that way. I really like the way Firelight describes how witchcraft and magic works in his new book. I'm gonna forget what it's called. A Dabbler's Guide to Witchcraft. I'll leave it in the description below. As of recording this video, it's not out yet. I don't think it comes out until September of 2021. I was lucky enough to get an advanced reader copy of it, and I will be doing a review, and hopefully I will have Firelight on sometime because he's fantastic. But anyway, he describes witchcraft as tilting the tables of fate in your favor, or something like that. I'll try to find the quote and I'll put it up here somewhere. But it's tilting the scales in your favor. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to automatically happen. If that were the case, then we would have millions of witches all over the world winning the lottery every week or whenever the lottery is done. Witchcraft is just tilting that scale and making things more favorable for you. If you come into witchcraft with unrealistic expectations, you're going to be severely disappointed. And then another big one that I see that I wish more people would talk about is expectations with deities and working with the gods. Online, we really see just a small glimpse into other people's work with their deities, unless they have decided to share absolutely everything, but I haven't found anybody like that. But the way that we talk about these encounters with deities and our work with them can be misleading sometimes, depending on who's doing the talking. It's a very common, not necessarily complaint, but a very common comment or concern that people have when they come into witchcraft and working with deities, that they can't hear the deity. They don't feel connected to the deity. They don't, they talk to the deity, but the deity doesn't talk back. And these expectations can really disappoint your polytheistic practice if you come into it thinking that you're going to physically hear the gods talk to you. Some people might hear an auditory response, but it's not common. There are so many of us who don't have that sort of back and forth dialogue with deities, who don't have what Tumblr used to call a god phone. Oh, that came out of nowhere, and I had forgotten all about god phones. Anyways, your expectations when working with deities are going to be small, or should be small. And working with the gods shouldn't be about having a back and forth conversation and physically hearing an auditory response or physically feeling them around you. it's not as common as the internet makes it sound. And I feel like if those of us that speak about our experiences with deities would speak about them in more accurate terms, then we would be able to clear up this expectation for new polytheistic people who are coming into the community. When I say that I hear Bridget, I don't physically hear an auditory response. It's more of almost like thoughts in my head that aren't my own. And that is rare. That is so rare. That doesn't happen every day. It doesn't even happen every month. It does happen. But when I talk about hearing her or feeling her or communicating with her, most of the time I'm talking about just those feelings that I get that aren't mine. Or like my intuition being guided in a specific direction. Or communication through divination or dreams. Actually hearing deities is rare. We can talk to the deities all we want, but they're not always going to actually talk back to us. That's okay. And in fact, I think it needs to be normalized. It's not something I see a lot of. I also really want to normalize the fact that we don't start working with deities just to get stuff out of them. Most polytheistic people start worshiping and working with deities out of reverence and devotion to those particular gods and goddesses. It's not necessarily that type of relationship where you pick and choose deities that you want to quote unquote work with and then give them an offering and then they make your life all better. That's different. Yeah. So I've been talking for almost 30 minutes. I don't know how long this video is going to end up being, but there are some things that you should expect when you come into the community and you start your practice. You should expect to always be learning. You should expect those in the community who are teaching or who are leading or who are helping others to act with integrity and respect and honesty. You should probably also expect to act with humility and expect those that you speak with to act with humility as well. Basically, you should expect to treat people with kindness and to not hold yourself to unrealistic standards and expectations. And if anyone comes to you and says that you should expect that, or if you're a creator and they come to you and tell you that they absolutely expect you to stick to your schedule of uploading videos once a week or twice a week or whatever, that's their expectation. And only take those expectations on if you want to. I feel like all I did was confuse everybody, lose my train of thought, and I hope everything that I have said makes sense. I hope that the expectations you have of yourself are healthy and realistic. I hope if they're not, that you have the capacity to rework those expectations and make them healthy and realistic. If you don't, please find help wherever you can. If you'd like to comment about it, please leave your comments in the comment section and I will do my best to respond to everyone and answer any questions and maybe help you figure it out if you need help figuring things out. So yeah, I'm going to do my best to have a video out for every week of June and the first week of July. At this point, I'm not making any promises. I know that if I don't, I will be disappointed in myself, but only because that's the expectation I have placed on myself and because I know how algorithms work and I know that if I don't post consistently, YouTube and Instagram and Twitter and all of those other things are less likely to promote my content or even show you my content regardless of whether or not you follow or are subscribed to me. We need to put the social back in social media, but that is something else completely different. So, well, I guess now I have something else popping into my head. How do you have realistic expectations? How do you manage that? And here we go, Megan. You talked about having... Part of the tree just fell on my car. I'll look at it in a minute. But yeah, I talked about why you should have realistic expectations and what those realistic expectations should look like, but I didn't tell you how you can achieve them. Way to go, Megan. So there's a couple of things that I think can happen to help you build your realistic expectations. And the first thing is to throw all your expectations out the window. Get rid of them. They're gone. And start from scratch. If you're trying to build your practice and you have certain expectations of how that practice should look, throw it out. Start from scratch. Start from the beginning. What do you want? What is your goal? And what are some steps that you can take to get there? And you want to go in small steps. You know, do you have a goal of meditating for 30 minutes every day? Start small. Especially if you've never meditated before. If you have the expectation that you're going to be able to sit down and meditate for 30 minutes and you've never meditated a day in your life, throw that expectation out the window because it's not going to work. Meditation takes practice, and it's not just a practice of sitting down and being quiet. Give yourself grace to take baby steps to these expectations and these goals. I feel like that can work for just about everything. But then the next thing that I have to say about having realistic expectations is be careful who you follow online. There are going to be people who you follow online who they have their niche. They have the things that they post about. They don't post bad things. They don't post negative things. They don't post realistic things. Well, not realistic. Quote unquote real life, right? That can lead you down a rabbit hole of following people who only post aesthetically pleasing images. Whether or not those images are real to those people, that's different. That's on them. But that can lead you down following all of these people that only post content like that, and then you taking on that expectation, whether you know it or not, that that's what your practice has to look like. And that's 100% false too. Your practice doesn't have to look like anybody else's. And having the expectation that it has to look like the people that you follow online is dangerous to your practice and can really limit your practice. All right. So daughter is done with her appointment. Gonna wrap this video up. I will leave more information. Go ahead. I will leave more information in the description below. I might write a blog post or something about how to get rid of unrealistic expectations and make your practice your own, and how these can apply to everyday life. You can say hello.
Hello, people.
So yeah, we are gonna go now, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.
Bye.